That's awesome.
So Photoshop 2021 just dropped not long ago, and it has so many amazing new features. There's about a dozen of them that are perfect for photographers, and I'm going to cover them in this video. There's quicker access to content-aware fill, there's a brand new sky replacement interface that works seamlessly, the new refine hair button is insane, the new plugins feature and version history for the cloud is pretty cool, and there's a new discover and help functionality with embedded tutorials, which is great for beginners. And then my favorite are the neural filters. Holy Batman. There's so many things to talk about with the neural filters. The two fully ready filters are skin smoothing and style transfer. The style transfer is actually one of my creative favorites, and you'll see why. And then there are the beta filters that I'm going to cover, like the smart portrait, where there's so many powerful features in there. You can make someone younger or older with a single slider, which is great for dating profiles or portrait retouching. There's a makeup transfer filter, a depth-aware haze filter, and a colorize filter, among several others. I've also time-coded all these topics in the description, so you can jump to whatever interests you most. Also, I will release these same topics, these same videos, as very short, separate videos on each topic, in case you need to look them up in the future. In YouTube, just search for Photoshop Professor and the thing you want. All right, let's get to it. So I want to show you how quickly you can now access the content aware fill dialog box. Like, look at these 8 writing buddies. Well, they decided that Jill, this is Jill right here, they want her out of the photograph. So I'm just going to grab the lasso tool. I'm going to come and just make a loose selection around Jill, who has been unjustly accused of being an asshole. Then you right click, go down to content aware fill, and immediately it brings up the entire content aware fill dialog box, and it has already removed Jill. She's gone. So I just click OK, Command D to deselect. Jill is gone. Now it's the 7 writing buddies. So the sky replacement feature in Photoshop is quite simply amazing. Let's start with this image. All you have to do is go to Edit and down to Sky Replacement. It's going to open up a dialog box. And what it's going to do is it's going to automatically load the first sky that happens to be selected. And it's going to do, this is non-destructive. It's going to create masks for everything. And then you can just toggle through which skies would you like? Would you like a pretty blue sky or a sunset sky? A sunset sky would probably work better for this image. Yeah, I sort of like the drama that creates. And again, once you've chosen your sky, you can also add your own skies here with the add button. But now let's go tweak it just a little bit. First, the sky adjustments. Maybe make it just a little darker. Maybe make it a little bluer. Or do I want to make it more yellow? Yeah, I think I'll make it more warm, like a sunset. I can scale it just a touch if I want to. And then if it starts looking weird, remember you can click in your sky and drag it to wherever you need to so that it looks appropriate based on the point of view and the depth of field that's there. You kind of have to match that up with your scene a little bit. And I'm just dragging the scale slider back and forth to figure out where that's going to be. I'm going to say it's somewhere right in there. My lighting adjustment, should that be on screen? Something like that. I can make the color contaminate the foreground. See how all that warm color came to the foreground? And when I click OK, look at all of these layers that it created for me just to make it fit. Let's try a second one. Okay, this will be harder, right? A lot of shallow depth of field, real blurry horizon line, a lot of fine hair around here. Let's see how it does. Edit, sky replacement. And for this one, I don't think sunset would look good. I think I like this. That's nice. So that's the great thing. You get to kind of choose which ones you like. I think I like this one. I like that bright spot, but I want to move it. So click back over here and let's scale that up just a touch. And then I'm going to click and just drag so that it's almost like I've dodged behind her, but it's a natural part of the light. Maybe I'll brighten the sky a little bit. Add a little yellow, just a touch, and then figure out how much of the color contamination do I want to come into the scene. Maybe something like that. And I'm going to click OK. And now looking at this, there's a real shallow depth of field. Super blurry, right? So that sky would be blurry as well. So I would just click on the sky layer, go up to filter, down to blur, go down to lens blur, which will give you a more accurate shallow depth of field looking blur than Gaussian blur would. And then just up your radius, blade curvature, and rotation to make it about as blurry as you think the foreground was. I think something like that'll work. All right, so that's nice and soft and blurrier, which I really like. Now I'd probably just brighten her up a touch. Little contrast jump, something like that. And if that's too much, just fade it back a little bit. So again, we went from here to here very quickly without a ton of selection. Now here's an interesting thing that I want you to think about. What happens if you have a reflection? So let's go ahead and choose Edit Sky Replacement. Okay, I'll stay with the pink clouds. I'll let the edge stay where it is. I'll let it stay on multiply. I'm just going to click OK. And it's going to give me that version of the sky replacement. I'm going to go to the background, hit Command or Control J to duplicate it, drag it to the top. See that cyan line at the very top? Hit Command or Control T to activate Free Transform. Right click inside there, click Flip Vertical, lock it down by hitting Enter. And now the thing at the top that's blue is going to be thought of as the sky. Edit, Sky Replacement. Leave that same sky chosen. Obviously, we'd want the same sky, right? And I'll leave everything else very similar, making it a touch brighter. Click OK. And it gave us the sky for there. Now what I'm going to do just to make this simpler is I'm going to hold down the Command key and select that flipped version of the image and that whole sky replacement group. And I'm going to Command Option Shift letter E, compress it to the very top layer. I'm just going to delete these for now to simplify my palette. But here it is, right? This is the original image with the sky replacement. And then here is the flipped image where I put the sky in the water. So I'll select that upside down layer, hit Command or Control T again, right click inside, click Flip Vertical, hit Enter, turn it off and on. You can see what's happening. So essentially, I just need to add a layer mask. If I hold down the Alt or Option key while I click on Add a Layer Mask, it's going to add a black mask, which means it's going to hide everything on that layer. So I hit B for the brush, look at my foreground, make sure it's white, make sure I'm painting with 100% opacity, and I can just paint in the reflection. And we all know reflections are never as intense as the sky, at least most of the time. So I'd probably just lower that down. That way we can still see the ripples. And look how powerful that is. If you're like me, you'll see something that bothers you in the image. And I don't like this horizontal limb here. So I go back down to this original background layer. I'll add a blank layer above it. I'll grab the spot healing brush, left bracket key to make my brush a little smaller, and I'll just paint across there. Say, please get rid of that because I find it so distracting. There must be a little bit here on this layer and a couple little passes to break up the pattern. All right, I like that much better. Now, how about this image? This looks pretty complicated. Let's see how it does. Edit, Sky Replacement. Now for this one, I think I would go with more of a blue sky. I think it would fit better. Yeah, I think that looks nice. Click OK. I mean, just right away, that's a nice alternative to what we had. Now, here's another thing. If Photoshop thinks it's a sky back there behind your image, it's going to treat it like a sky. So watch this. Edit, Sky Replacement. And maybe this isn't a good choice for blue. Let's find something else. Something more turbulent, maybe. Yeah, how about this? Kind of stormy. That looks interesting. I don't know how the pink would do, but let's take a look. Kind of interesting. You can see this going floor to ceiling in an airport somewhere. So this has a lot of graphic design applications as well as photography applications. Ooh, I think that's my favorite. That's pretty. Nice. What would I do? I'd like it to be a little bluer, I think. Maybe a little brighter. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Look at that. Output it. So again, this is just a creative use of the sky replacement tool. So I wanted to cover the new object selection buttons that are found in the select and mask dialog box. So let's say we have this image. I'll hit Command or Control 1 to zoom in to 100%. Space bar just to pan down so we can really see the hair, because that's where it shines. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to choose this tool option. Any of these will work. Any of these will toggle on the tool options bar for that particular grouping of tools. And what we want is the select subject and select and mask button. Let's just go to it. Here's the select and mask dialog box. Notice this huge interface. We can't see quite what's going on because on my view, it's on onion skin, which is great if you have a layer beneath and you're ready to go, but I'm not there. So I'm going to put this on black and white so that we can really see the magic. And I'm just going to hit select subject. Photoshop is going to figure out what the subject is. Okay, and it's done a really good job. But this button is new. Watch what happens when I hit the refine hair button. Isn't that amazing? I mean, for 2 years, we've been using this refine edge brush tool right here to paint all around the hair, but we don't have to do that anymore. What I will do is I'll use that quick selection tool and I'll just make a pass right here. And pretty much I'm on toggle smart radius because I always like Photoshop to do a little extra looking around the edge. And I'm going to scroll down to the output settings and choose new layer with layer mask. Click OK. Command 0 to fit it in the screen. So I think what I'd like to do with this image is put a gradient behind it. So I'll select below, I'll add new layer. I'll hit G for the gradient tool, which is right here. And then mine's already selected, but chances are you're still with a white to black or black to white selection here for your basics. So just toggle open the blue. I'm gonna grab this first one and I'm just gonna pull it down like this. I really like that, but I want a double gradient. I want a gradient coming, I want a dark blue here, like a lighter blue in the middle, and then a dark blue at the bottom. So I'm going to add another layer and I'll come from this side. Yeah, I like that a lot, but obviously it's washing away the one we had up here, right? So all I need to do, I don't need to add a layer mask and do careful, painting on the mask. All I need to do is let Photoshop do it for me. So I'll go up and I'll choose darken. Look at that. It kept all the luminosity of the original image. It didn't color contaminate anything. And basically it just brought back or added this little dark blue in the corner. So now I have this nice gradation. And remember, I can continually revise this. Like if this blue's coming up too far, I'm still on that layer. I'll just make it not come as far. Do you see that? So I can continually drag it until it's the exact way I want. I can come back up here. So that's the new refine hair feature in Photoshop. And again, holding down the space bar and the command key, I'm going to zoom in, or you can click and drag. And just look at that hair selection, how sharp this is. That's really great. Another new addition to the menu bar up here is plugins. This is really neat. So if you just toggle on the plugins panel, which mine is toggled to right here, from the start, you're not going to have anything in it. But these are like little mini scripts that people have created to make your life easier. A lot of them are for free. You can buy others. Like if you want to add a custom watermark, just install this little widget. These are a curated list of the editor's choice. I'm going to toggle on see more. Now again, when you come here, you're going to, these are all the featured plugins. If you come down to all plugins, you'll see everything that's available. And these are all the free ones again. I think this one is really cool. Floating adjustments. It's the way Photoshop used to work. Click OK. Got to input your password and it's going to install the plugin. Basically, in the old days, Photoshop used to open up in a new dialog box when you opened up an adjustment. Now the adjustments will still do that, right? If I go to levels, let me actually get out of this. All right, so here is my image. If I were to go to adjustments and open a levels adjustments, see how it pops up in this separate window? I really like that. But remember, this is destructive editing. And if I want to add an adjustment layer, previously, when I would hit a levels adjustment layer, it wouldn't open it up over here, right? It only opened it up in the properties area. But with this little plugin, now it's going to automatically allow pop-up adjustment, and then it's going to reload it over into the properties panel. And then if you ever need to get back to it, it's still there. It's not going to pop out again. But I just love that functionality. So curves, see it's going to pop up so I can pull the tones, make a little S curve to increase the contrast, and then it's going to reload over here in the properties. If you want to see more about your plugin, you can click on this little Lego icon, or again, you can come over to plugins and you can browse more, manage them. Here's the list of all the plugins you have, and currently I just have this one. So I can come over here and I can access all those same things. And here I can access everything that I can access from the top menu bar. So if I want to go to manage plugins, and if I want to uninstall this, I just click on these ellipses dots and click disable or uninstall. So I can keep it installed, but just disable it for a period of time, or I can actually click uninstall. And that way you're back to, it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't mess up Photoshop. It's just a wonderful feature. So in this new version of Photoshop, you have something called version history in the cloud, which is pretty amazing. So look at this document. This is a JPEG, right? So look what happens if I go up to File, Save As, and I'm going to get this Save As dialog box where it's wanting to save defaulting to my desktop currently. But I'm going to choose Save to Cloud Documents. What are you looking at? Click Save. Now here's the interesting thing. Now Photoshop and the cloud are going to repeatedly and often save your document to the cloud based on the iterations of your work. So you remember in the old days, like if I would say, okay, well, actually, I think I want to add a black and white adjustment layer. So now I'm going to save this black and white adjustment layer as its own separate file. So I'll make Command S, and then it would prompt up the dialog box because it has never been saved with this adjustment, right? So then you think, that's interesting, but maybe I just want to exaggerate the contrast. So I'll go down to the blend mode of overlay or soft light. I like that too. And then maybe I'll get the brush tool and I'll find a color. I think I'd rather get the red. Let's add a blank new layer so that I can paint. There's 1, 2, 3. You kind of see what I'm going for here. Now, if you want to toggle on your version history, just go to Window and put a check by version history. and it'll open it for you, and it uploaded. And this is the most recent version. So let's go back through here. So here's where I started. Do you see that? Let me make this a little bigger. Where I started, notice there's nothing there. And then I made a black and white version, right? And then I went back to the original with maybe a soft light overlay. And then there's the 1, there's the 2, there's the 3. So this is like virtual copies, very much the way Lightroom does it, but they're stored in the cloud. And at any time, I can open up any one of these versions. Now, this history is going to expire after 60 days. So this is a good idea if you like one. Like, okay, obviously I don't like the 1, 2, 3, but I really like this one. If I check this bookmark, that means, and I can do black and white, Photoshop is never going to delete this file. It will stay there until I manually delete it. These other ones are going to disappear in 60 days. So this is just something to think about when you're working, that you have an alternative way to view quick options. And once you set it up once, you're going to see a little cloud document in the title bar. You're going to notice the file extension is .psdc, which is Photoshop Document Cloud. So it reminds you that you're actually saving iterative adjustments to the cloud, so you can always go back and see what you liked better. I think this is really cool. So another great feature that they've added is the help and discover tool panel. So basically Photoshop's help menus become more helpful. So you can access it here through the help, pull up hands-on tutorials about a specific subject. But I like going over to this search icon. It looks like a magnifying glass, and it automatically opens up the Discover panel. What do you want to do? Well, let's say I want to convert this to black and white. I'll start typing, and then look at all the results. Black and white to color, black and white with one color, and then it gives me shortcuts. So if I hover over the shortcut, what it's going to do is it's going to notice it's telling me where to go and click to find what it is I want. So I can come over here, and it doesn't disappear. So I can come and I can see, oh, okay, that's what it wants me to do. But how about this? You can also just click it and it's going to do it for you. So it's going to say, do you want this as this name? Yes. It basically did the same thing I would do. It just auto did it from that point. Let's go in again. Let me delete that. Go back to this. It's going to keep whatever I searched for last. And then here's some other quick links, which are actions. Like, do you want to remove a background? Combine black and white with color in a photo? Do I want some kind of a tutorial for a custom black and white? And then all I have to do is click Start Tutorial. Now, here's where it's amazing. It's going to literally walk you through step by step of what to do. Image adjustments, black and white. So image adjustments, black and white. Then it's going to tell you what to do. Make some adjustments, click OK. Now it says click Next to continue or edit to undo the layer and try again. So it literally walks you through, allowing you to restart the tutorial or to do something else that's related to the question you asked. So this is a wonderful feature, especially for beginning Photoshop users. So Neural Filters is a new workspace in Photoshop with a whole library of filters that dramatically reduces difficult workflows into just a few clicks by using machine learning, which is basically artificial intelligence. The name of this artificial intelligence is called Adobe Sensei. Now, Neural Filters is a tool that empowers you to try non-destructive, generative filters to explore creative ideas in seconds. Now, the interesting thing about Neural Filters is that it improves your image by generating new contextual pixels that were not actually present in the original image. Now, how do you use Neural Filters? To get started, just download the filters from the cloud and start editing. You can find both the featured and the beta filters in the Neural Filter workspace by clicking Filters, Neural Filters. You can even cast your vote for filters you would like to see implemented in the future. So let's go through that process now. Yes! As always, you have to have an image open to be able to access most things in Photoshop. So with this image, I'm going to come up to Filter, over to Neural Filters. It's going to load them right here on the right side. Skin Smoothing and Style Transfer. These are the two completed, ready to go, and they operate only in the cloud. So see this little cloud download icon? You got to download it first. This one's like a megabyte, super small. Style Transfer, this is my favorite new neural filter. For those of you that like to play with the traditional filters, like you're one of those people that just sits home on a Friday night and you pick an image and you click through every single filter and every single adjustment on the filter, this is that whole new block of filters that we haven't had in 20 years. I'm definitely going to download that one. See, it's a little bigger. It's 185 megabytes.
6.5 hours later.
So again, these are the two currently featured filters in this top panel. If we go to this little mixing glass jar, these are the beta filters. And I've already downloaded this first one, but I'm gonna go ahead and toggle on. And again, I recommend you just click on every single one and download them. Okay, I've turned everything off. I'll go back to this. See, these are turned on. What I haven't mentioned yet is Photoshop will automatically apply the filter if it's turned on. So, but you can turn off the filter and the effects that were auto applied. Now let's go back to beta. So inside the beta filters, they're labeled, the first ones, and you activate them by just turning them on. But before I get to that, these filters at the bottom that have nothing, they don't function yet. These are actually ideas that Photoshop is working on, and they want to hear from us if we like them. And if you do, like if you like photo restoration, just click I'm interested. Or if you're like, ooh, face to caricature, click I'm interested. Photo to sketch, you see the idea. Photoshop will work on these if we all vote that we would like them. So now I want to cover neural filters and the new skin smoothing filter. I'm just going to go up to filter, neural filters. It's going to auto load. It has found the face as indicated by that blue rectangle. I'm going to hit Command or Control 1 to zoom in. Use the hand tool just to pan around. It automatically selects the pan tool. I'm going to toggle on skin smoothing just by turning it on. It's processing in the cloud, not on my computer. And it's done. Let me click OK. I'll toggle off the background. So this is what it output laid over top of my original. So I'll turn off the skin smoothing. So look what it did. We still have details in the eyelashes, the hair still in focus. Now it's not a retouching filter, right? It didn't get this little blemish right here. For that, I would just add a blank layer, and then I come over to the spot healing brush, click it, and just tap the thing. Spacebar for the hand tool, whatever is distracting, left bracket key to make my brush smaller. And look at that. That is just so amazing from where we started. Again, it's just to get you where you want to go quicker. It's not going to get you 100% there, but it'll get you 99%. Now let's take a look at this image, like just a normal everyday guy, not a fashion model. Go to filter, neural filter. It'll load. It detected the face as indicated by the blue rectangle. I've got to turn it on because it's processed in the cloud and it's already done. And actually, I'm going to drag this one all the way over 100%. So even at 100%, it did it so fast, it's hard to remember how much attention this image needed. But look at it. There's eyelashes, eyebrows. Look at these crisp hairs. Like it didn't mess up. It didn't make it look plastic. I'll click OK to go back to Photoshop. I'll turn that off. Look where we were and look how far we came with just one click. Same thing. If I see some blemishes, I'd add a blank layer. I'm still on the spot healing brush. Check sample all layers. And then if I saw a blemish, I would just go paint it out. Even these, like this big red area right here, get rid of that. Left bracket key to make my brush smaller. And notice the stubble is still there. I mean, it has done such a wonderful job. Now, let me go back and show you where we were and where we ended up with just a few clicks. I mean, that is amazing. All right, so now I'm going to show you my most favorite addition to the neural filters. So again, if you're one of these people that loves to play with filters, let me start with this image. I'll double click it from Bridge, it'll auto load into Photoshop. Now, if you're one of these people that would go up to filter and you go to filter gallery, which opens up this large dialog box, and you would sit here with a filter and you would play with each slider to figure out what it did. And then you go to the next filter and you play with the sliders. If this is your entertainment on a Friday and Saturday night, which it's mine, I love this. It feels like I'm making art. Now, granted, a lot of the filters are a little canned and they look too Photoshoppy, but again, I always think of these as like a springboard to start you in a creative direction. Rarely do I apply a filter and just leave it. Typically, it's used in combination with other filters, other layers and blend modes and masking, but there's a lot of creative potential and it just shows you right away what you're doing. So these have basically been our filters for the past 25 years. So I'm going to cancel that. But we just got this new set of filters and they're freaking amazing. Go to filter, neural filters. And style transfer is one of the two completed so far, like it's 100% ready to go. And basically it adopts the appearance or visual style of the source image that you choose, and it applies it to your own image. These are processed in the cloud, so it takes a while depending on your connection speed. So you just turn it on. Like most filters, it's going to apply the default filter with this one in the upper left corner. Oddly, and not oddly, this is my least favorite filter in this batch. Currently, we're not able to add any of our own, but that will come, I'm sure, at some point. But essentially, these are compared to thousands of images, and these are processed on giant multi-terabyte servers in the cloud to give you a really accurate rendition of your scene. So I'm just going to click through these so you can see them. This is my favorite. Love, love, love this fourth one. I also love this fifth one. Really nice. This one actually looks really good on certain images. So you'll notice all of them, most of them are pulled from pretty famous paintings. This one is really great for more of a photorealistic approach. I would have never thought that I would have liked this one looking at the icon, but I find I enjoy it on all kinds of images. This one applies a very just warm sepia photorealistic style. For fans of The Matrix, which I'm one of them. So you can easily see that this has a lot of power. I'm gonna go back to the one that I like while I'm talking. Remember, happy people do what makes them happy. You still have these other things like preserve color, focus subject. You can adjust the style strength and brush size. You can blur the background, and then you can vote. Were you satisfied with the results? So I encourage you to try these out. So you have the ability to output them. You can put them out as a current layer, a duplicate layer that's been masked, a new layer, and then at the very bottom is a smart filter. Currently, I've been throwing everything up as a new layer. So remember, this is non-destructive. So I'm going to show you in this video how you can take this image and make the guy look really young, really old and bald. Go to Filter, Neural Filters. And this is in the beta filter. So you've got to click on this little flask, toggle on Smart Portrait. And there are a ton of features in here to cover. But the one I'm covering in this one is facial age and hair thickness. So let's say we want to make the person really young. All we do is toggle it on, and actually you don't even have to toggle it on. As soon as you drag the slider, it will auto toggle on. It needs to process in the cloud, and that might take a bit depending on your internet connection. Look at that. So it kind of cleaned up the stubble around the neck. It kind of made the fuzz here a little more young looking, made the hair thicker, and it just made the face look younger. Now, what happens if I were to take it the other way? Make it as old as possible. Again, it's going to process in the cloud. It did a really decent job. I mean, that looks like the same guy, but just with 30 years added on him. And again, that's because I drug it all the way to the max. But I can tell this poor guy by experience, you don't get to keep that cool hair when you get old. You lose your hair too. So let's take that hair thickness down to -50. And unfortunately, this is going to be his life most probably. And wait till you see the other videos where I cover the happiness, surprise, and anger and changing a person's gaze. So cool. And just click OK to lock it down. Another interesting neural filter is the makeup transfer filter. So I'm going to take the makeup of this image and apply it to this image. Essentially, you need to have both images open. Go to Filter, Neural Filter, go to the beta filters, go to Makeup Transfer and turn it on. And it's going to ask you to select a reference image. So I'm going to go down to the other one that I have open. It's going to let me see what that is visually. And it's processing in the cloud. And look what it did. It minimized the intensity of her eyebrows because the model over here has her eyebrows minimized. And then look, it auto-selected the lips. And you can vote whether you like it or not. Click OK. Now, again, is it going to get you 100% there right away? No, it's going to get you 99% there. And then you can go in and custom touch, like maybe this little area right here where there's this kind of red outline. It lets you sample ideas really quickly. There's another great neural filter called Depth Aware Haze. So let's apply it to this image. But first, notice this great shot, and there's this blurry boat. So I'm just going to quickly select it with the lasso tool, right click, go down to Content Aware Fill, again, the new quicker access. It removed it for me. Command D, push that down to its own layer by hitting Command or Control E. Now let's go over to Filter, Neural Filters. And then let's go over to the beta filters and choose Depth Aware Haze. Turn it on, and let's just haze this up a little bit, like it should be a foggy morning, which will desaturate the crazy colors too. I think that did great. Maybe add a little bit of warmth. It's processing. I'm gonna click OK, toggle it on and off. I like how it desaturated the clouds and made it look a bit more misty, but I do want some of my original detail. So I would just add a layer mask, hit B for the brush, make sure black's in my foreground, and I'd probably tap 4 for 40% in the opacity, left bracket key to make my brush a little smaller, and I would just paint and then click again, just because I want this area to be the focus. So that's where we were, and that's with a little bit of haze, and you can always lower the effect. Let's try it on this image. And I encourage you to try it on things you wouldn't think of. Like, watch this. Turn on depth aware haze. Now you're like, well, this isn't really a distant scene. No, it's not. Watch what it's going to do. It's going to make a selection around the primary subject. It's going to allow me to really warm it up. But then instead of making it more hazy, I'll make it less hazy. And watch what happens. Look at that. I basically just custom toned my background to color match his face. Click OK. So this is a really interesting way to use the filter in a way it wasn't designed to be used. Let's try it one more time. On this image, filter, neural filters, processing in the cloud. I think it did a great job. Click OK. Command 0 to fit back in screen. Toggle it on and off. Okay, I like what it's doing, but it did it too much in the foreground. So in this case, I would just add a layer mask, hit G for the gradient tool, and just make a subtle gradient right here, just to make the distant area go more foggy. So let's talk about the Colorize neural filter. First, I'm going to hit Command or Control J to duplicate my layer. I'm going to hit Command Shift U to desaturate it. And then I'm going to go over to Filter Neural Filters. A lot of us have family that has black and white photographs that are old that they ask you to colorize. Look how easy this is. Just come down to the beta area, choose Colorize, and it's not going to be 100%, but it does a pretty decent job. I can adjust the scene color, the focus color, click OK. For a super quick pass, that's not bad at all. You can always add your layer mask, come back in and say like, well, no, that hair was more white, not blonde. And you just make the hair back white. Paint in the eye color if you knew the eye color. But you see how quickly it did that? Remember, I'm going to output all of these topics as individual shorter videos. All right, take care.
Yes!
Hey, what are you still doing here? It's over. Actually, all kidding aside, I hope this video helped. And if it did, consider subscribing. I like subscribers.
That's awesome! What? You just took one in the jugular, man! Ha. Whoa! Yes! Oh my god, I did! This is...
Hey, you stayed to the end. You know what that means? You're awesome. I'm talking about you. Now get out of here.